1. Barbara Salinas Norman. In May 2013, the mummified remains of a Chicana author found inside her New Mexico home. Authorities and family members believe that the body of 70-year-old Barbara Salinas Norman may have been inside the home for over a year. At one time, Salinas was a prominent children's author. She wrote and published stories through Piñata Publications, which she founded, that were designed to help Mexican-American children identify with their culture. In recent years, however, Salinas had become reclusive and suffered from financial problems. Salinas' body was discovered by her brother-in-law, Louis Ponce, who had visited the home determined to find her no matter what. Because it had been such a long time. It's been over 2 years since he had last heard from her. When he entered the home, which was filled with an odor that Ponce described as awful, he found her mummified remains near a poster that parodied Rosie the Riveter. A preliminary autopsy revealed that Salinas had likely died of natural causes. 2. David Carter. Abandoned homes have become an increasingly common sight in a national foreclosure crisis. However, what may lurk behind closed doors could be much worse. In 2012, a Milwaukee real estate agent entered one such house after it was repossessed due to tax foreclosure, to find a sight that he's not likely to forget. Investigators found the body of the owner, David Carter, on the stairs in a nearly skeletonized state, after remaining undiscovered for up to 4 years. Carter, who friends and acquaintances described as smart and generous and even funny, quit his job as a nuisance control officer for the city of Milwaukee in 2007, telling co-workers that he planned to move to New Mexico. Instead, it appears that Carter committed suicide. He was found with a bullet wound through his head and a handgun on his chest, on the day when he would have turned 45. 3. Hedviga Golik. The remains of a woman were found sitting in front of her TV for 42 years. After she was reported missing, Hedviga Golik, who was born in 1924, had apparently made herself a cup of tea before sitting in her favorite armchair in front of her black and white television set. Croatian police said that she was last seen by neighbors in 1966, when she would have been 42 years old. Her neighbors thought she had moved out of her flat in Zagreb. However, she was found by police and bailiffs when they broke in to help the authorities establish who owned the flat. When officers went there, they said it was like stepping into a place frozen in time. The cup from which she had been drinking tea was still on a table next to the chair where she had been sitting, and the house was full of things no one had seen for a long time. Nothing had been disturbed for decades, although there were more than a few cobwebs in there. Despite numerous actions by tenants, who noticed that nobody had been using the flat since 1970, as well as those by city services, which requested that the apartment be broken into and examined, nobody reacted to their pleas for nearly 4 decades. 4. Joyce Vincent. On January 25, 2006, officials from a North London housing association who were repossessing a bedsit in Wood Green, due to rent arrears, made a grim discovery. Lying on the sofa was the skeleton of a 38-year-old woman, who had been dead for almost 3 years. In one corner of the room, the television set was still on, tuned to BBC One, and a small pile of unopened Christmas presents lay on the floor. Dishes were heaped in the kitchen sink, and a mountain of post lay behind the front door. Having apparently died in late 2003, her remains went undiscovered for 3 years. Despite the smell of decomposition emanating from her apartment. Due to the considerable decomposition of the body, the only means by which identification of the corpse could be achieved was through a comparison of the records of Joyce Vincent, with a holiday photograph of her, where she is seen smiling. The cause of death was never ascertained, again due to the decomposed state of the remains. But police believe that Vincent died of natural causes. The episode is the subject of a film, Dreams of Life, the research for which revealed that the woman was an acquaintance of many influential members of London's 80s and 90s pop music scene. 5. Simon Allen. A loner lay dead in his Center City flat for 2 years, after no one realized that he had passed away. The skeletal remains of Simon Allen were only discovered when deep cleaners went to his home. In November 2012, his body, which was wearing just a pair of socks, was found lying behind an armchair in the living room of his flat in Brighton, East Sussex. 11 days earlier, his landlord and bailiffs had gone to the first-floor property to investigate why his rent had not been paid for several months. Neighbors said that there had been a musty smell in the hallway outside the flat before his body was found, but nothing more unusual than that. Police said they believe that Mr. Allen had died in December 2010, when he would have been around 50 years of age. They were unable to trace any family or friends, and found few personal items in the flat, which Mr. Allen had rented since 1999. Police said that there were no suspicious circumstances surrounding the death, and that it was impossible to confirm the cause of death.